We are back for another episode of We Are the Ones podcast. What's going on, Avi?
What is going on? So, Buffalo is about to show itself. It's about to show itself. The snow is coming.
Yes, it is.
Snow is coming.
We had our first snow day. What was that? A couple days ago?
I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday we had our first snow day. It wasn't that bad.
Yes, we did.
I went to me and wifey went to the movies. And as we were coming out of the movie theater last night, it was almost like a damn near whiteout outside.
Right, because the winds was going real fast.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
As soon as we got on the highway, it was like it completely cleared up. You know what I mean? So it's weird times, y'all. It's weird
on its
times.
way.
You know, but no, we excited. You know, this is the podcast where we have extraordinary conversations with extraordinary people doing extraordinary things.
Yes.
And today is absolutely no exception because I think we are pretty extraordinary,
I
right?
would say so myself.
Yeah,
I would say so myself.
As you guys can see, you know, it's just me and Avi today.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
And we thought it was gonna be really important, you know, to just kind of sit and just have some conversation with us, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, we started this podcast. We had some motivations behind why we started it and things like that. But, you know, people don't really, you know, unless people know us intimately and closely, they don't really know us.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we thought it would be a good opportunity for our audience, our first generation audience, to get to know who we are, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm excited to be here. And I love, y'all don't understand. I love having conversations with Avi because she's a great conversationalist. Even when I came to her with this idea to do this podcast, I couldn't think of a better person to do this with because she's just such a great conversationalist, you know?
Thanks,
so
Jamil.
I was just like, yeah, so this is going to be a fun episode today. You know, just the two of us.
We shall see what we dive into tonight.
Yeah. I don't know what she's going to ask me. I don't know what we're talking about today, y'all, but I kind of got an idea, but Avi likes to just throw curveballs and such.
I do.
You know what I mean?
Well, because the thing about me is that I love to get to the root of the thing.
Yeah.
You know, we can only do surface for about 2 minutes, and then we got to get down to the root.
Gotta get deep.
We got to get deep.
We got to go deep.
Yes.
You know? So
yes.
I think I'm ready to go deep tonight. I think I'm ready to go deep.
Well, it'll be good because, you know, I think on our podcast, we start with our guests with their backstory.
Right.
You know, so I think it's only right if we kind of started with our backstory, and then if we kind of go into what we're doing now, what we're passionate about, and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be getting a little bit into Jamil so that our first generation family can know exactly who is on the other side of me. But Jamil, so I was...
I don't know what I got myself into tonight, y'all. Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm not even going to be that bad tonight. I'm not even going to be that bad tonight.
All right.
But I would say the one thing that I love, Jamil, is that for the past, oh my goodness, over a decade now, since we've known each other, I have seen you just jump levels, you know, into the man that you always wanted to be, and into the man that you are still becoming. And I think it's a phenomenal thing. And for you to have your son right now at this stage, it is perfectly ordained and done. Yeah. So I'm excited for the man that he's going to know today and moving forward. So before we get into that though, Jamil, born and raised in Buffalo?
Born here, raised between here and Washington, D.C. I spent about 10 years in D.C. My mother is from D.C. Her and both of my brothers were born down there. And we moved up here, you know, long story short, you know, we were having some challenges down in D.C. at the time. We lived in a big house. It was like 9 of us lived in a house together, you know. And, you know, people started passing away. Like my uncle got tragically murdered. And then 3 months later to the day that he passed away, my grandmother died Thanksgiving night, 1989. Yeah. And we ended up moving to a homeless shelter. My mother, my 2 brothers and I. And from there we moved to like probably the roughest part of DC at the time. And you got to understand too, DC at that time, it was like at the height of the crack epidemic.
Oh,
you know what I mean? So it was really bad down there.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother needed to get us away from that. You know, so my father, his entire side of the family lived here in Buffalo. So she brought us up here, you know, and then, you know, that was like early 90s. So we've been up here ever since. Yeah.
So since you've been in Washington, D.C., do you still remember Washington, D.C. very fondly? You
vividly,
do?
Yeah.
Vividly? Okay. Yeah. So if you had to say the difference between Washington, D.C. and Buffalo, because you've also seen Buffalo, mm-hmm. are there any stark differences between the two?
D.C. is Chocolate City. It was always known as it was Chocolate City. That's what D.C. was known for. You know, mm-hmm. Coming to Buffalo was a culture shock for me. I'd never really been around like white people before I came to Buffalo. Yeah. You know, so experiencing racism for the first time, you know.
In Buffalo,
absolutely. You know, so and it was just weird. You know, I'm like, you know, I remember getting called all types of names from these folks. I'm just like,
I know
what? Yeah, this is when they had like the zebra pants, you know. I'm just like, I can't imagine being, you know, called a racial epithet by somebody with zebra pants on, Buffalo Bill zebra pants on.
And yet it happened.
Yeah, it definitely happened, you know. Yeah. So yeah, that was the big difference for me though. Like coming here, and it was a culture shock. And Buffalo was a lot smaller city, obviously, than Washington D.C.
Yeah.
You know? So, but that has some benefits to it as well. You know what I mean? Because when you're a smaller city, that means somewhat you're a more tight knit community, right? So. We definitely over the course of the years, you know, developed our community, right? Mm-hmm. And who we were, and just, you know, just had some challenges. Definitely had some challenges growing up here in Buffalo. You know, my parents just weren't doing well at the time, and they had their own challenges and such. And you know, my brothers had decided to, you know, take a different alternative route,
right?
You know, mm-hmm. And you know, they went the street route. I tried to stay on the straight and narrow, and I was the square, you know.
So, but that's interesting because your brother, you're both of your brothers are older than you.
No, I'm the middle.
You're the middle.
I've one brother that's older than me. We were born the same day, just a year apart from each mm-hmm. other. And then I have my younger brother who's 2 years younger than me.
Okay. So your older brother, what was it about seeing where he was going that you just knew, like, that's not really what I want to do? Because usually as a brother, you want to do everything that your brother, you know, do. But what was it that was like, no, I don't think I want to do that, though?
I think it was just like, it was a couple of things. One, I thank God, you know, I thank God for just giving me vision very early on in my life, and kind of giving me just provision on where I wanted to be, because I knew at that time in the circumstances that I grew up in mm-hmm. that I didn't want to be a part of that, you know, because it was just like poverty. It was drugs, it was alcohol. It was a whole bunch it was killing. It was all of the crazy stuff that comes with growing up in the hood. Yeah. Right. And I just knew I wanted no parts of that, you know? So, and I saw, like, you know, the path that my brothers, particularly my older brother, was going down at the time. And it was just like he was getting in trouble a lot, you know. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't like trouble, you know. I don't want to get in trouble, you know. So I decided that I was going to take the road less traveled, and for us at that time, which was school, you know, and going through the educational route, and that was my out. You know, because had I not, you know, gone in that direction. Mm-hmm. Who knows what my life would have turned out to be.
You know what I think is interesting about your growing up, because I don't have many friends who had parents, but your parents was a part of the whole Black Panther movement.
Yeah, my mom, yeah.
Your mom, yeah. And I really love that, because I don't think I have anyone else around me who had a parent a part of that. So growing up with a mom that was a part of that movement, what was that like?
Man, Mom Dukes, man, she was so... my mom, if you know my mom, to know her is to love her. She's such a sweet, gentle soul now. She was so back then. Oh. She used to, you know, I remember she used to wear this, it was this black wristband that she never took it off. She never, like, she slept in it, she showered in it. Like, she had it for years, for a long time. It even predated us when we were born, you know. And that was like her little way to stay connected to the you know, the whole Black Panther movement. even though it was like disbanded, and we know the stories of the Black. If you don't, Google it, But yeah, she was like, she instilled in us like pride and Black pride, and and being proud of who we are and where we came from, and I think that I carried a lot of that to who I am today, because we know we'll talk about this a little later. But I love Black people.
Yes, you do.
I love my people.
Yes, you do.
And I'll do. I love people in general. I do, but I really love Black people.
Yeah,
I really do. So, but I got a lot of that from my mom though. And just I just remember like meetings that she would go to, like community meetings and things like that. Just young, I was probably maybe 6, 7 years old, and I kind of remember these things, So, and I probably didn't pay attention to nothing that was being said.
Of course
there,
not. Yeah.
But I just remember just being in that space, and it's just funny how things happen. Like as you get older, you find yourself in that same space. You know, so.
But the thing about it is that it fits so perfectly on you, though.
Yeah.
You do it so well.
I love my folks.
What is it that you love about Black people so much? Like, why are you so passionate when it comes to Black people?
Do you see us? Like,
of course I see us. Of course I see us.
It's the beauty of our skin, just like, honestly, and even a lot of the struggles and the challenges that we've been through in life as a culture, as a community. I appreciate that, because like we are a resilient group of people.
Yeah.
I mean, for all the things that we've had thrown up against us over time, since coming over here, being, forcibly, dragged over here.
Right.
And all the things that we had to go through, kind of losing our own identities and such, but we're still, we were the ones that we can make, we can make lemonade out of lemons. We can make lemon meringue pie. We take scraps and turn it into soul food. You know what I mean? So like, it's just, we've always been a resilient bunch. And that's the one thing that I love about us so much, I mean, and then, we are the controllers of cool, right? So we control culture. We control, that's kind of, I don't want to say we necessarily control it, because control sometimes to me means, that we have ultimate power over things too, which I don't think we necessarily do, but the way we move is how everything else moves, right? We, kind of control the way, certain things go in culture and such. And, it's just hard not to love us.
Yeah.
It really is.
So I have a question.
And Black women, oh my God. Black women, I'm sorry. Black women, y'all are just everything.
Well, the interesting thing about Black women is that, so with Jamil, if you were to see his team, I think his team is probably like 90% Black women.
Yeah.
90% Black women. Because he always says, if you want something done, you get you some Black women around you.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in having strong women around you, especially strong Black women. You want something done right, you have a woman do it. And, and the Black woman just does things in ways that, it just, other people just, they don't have that same je ne sais quoi. They just don't.
Which is so interesting because, for a while, and maybe even today, probably because I'm just not seeing it in my feed today, but this whole fight between Black men and Black women.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah, like what do you feel is some of the underlining between that? Like why do you feel like we can't actually be okay with one another? We actually have to fight against one another.
I think honestly that's more media driven than anything else. I really firmly believe that there is more of the positive of the relationship that's happening than what what we get credit for.
Yeah.
Right? Because the negative stuff is always amplified.
Right.
But people don't, and it's like this thing where people often try to, put Black people in this box where like, we're just like, you got a bunch of deadbeat dads and, absentee parents and things like that, where the overwhelming majority of parenthood, how parenthood happens, like you have two parents in a household in most Black families. But that's not the narrative that you know, that they want us to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we just got to be careful with that, because when we constantly, you know, give that energy, we help to keep amplifying that negative narrative that's out there, where we need to start talking more about, you know, the positive that happens and the positive that we see, because there's more of that happens than the negative.
Right. So I would say growing up, you know, we've all had hurdles that we had to overcome. Is there anything between Washington, D.C. or Buffalo, any hurdle that for you personally, you've had to overcome in order to do better?
Man, if you see my knees, I got busted knees. You trying to jump over them damn hurdles, and I'm just like, dang. Man, that's all I had to do is overcome hurdles in my life, Avi. You know, that's been the story of my life, you know. I think things are good now, but like even coming up, you know, like I said, I grew up in poverty, you know, like I had parents who were addicts. You know, my mom was an alcoholic, my dad was a drug addict. Thank God they had completely turned their lives around.
Yes.
You know, I give all credit to God for that. But you know, my brothers were in the streets, you know, it was just one negative thing. I've been to more funerals in my life than I've been to weddings. You know what I mean? So
like people your age?
Yeah, and even, you know, people my age, people, you know, family members or whatever, you know, but and most of the funerals that I've been to were before the age of 15.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? So honestly, most of them was probably before the age of 10. You know what I mean? So, but it was, you know, that's the life that I was accustomed to. Right. You know what I mean? Just people, you know, people had the, you know, either people was in the streets or people that had health issues or whatever it was. You know, like I said, I had a uncle who was tragically murdered, you know, and I just remember even going to his funeral. He had an open casket funeral, and you still see the bullet imprint in his head. You know what I mean? Wow. So, and seeing that at 9, 10 years old, like that's traumatizing. Right. You know what I mean? So, so I had to overcome a lot of that. And it was rough, you know, and again, I be very clear. I love my pops, you know, like we have a great relationship now. It hasn't always been like that. Right. You know, it definitely hasn't always been like that. And growing up without a father around and kind of being forced to be the man of the house at such a young age, that's challenging in itself. Right. You know, so, and I had to go through a lot, you know, I had to knuckle up with a lot of folks, you know what I mean? Just to, you know, show people that, you know, I ain't soft out here, you know what I mean? So, so between that and like I said, just dealing with like poverty and such, but I persevered though, you know, I went through, you know, and I pushed myself through, had those challenges. I was the first in my family to go to college and actually graduate from college. You talk about first generation.
Come on now.
You know what I mean? So, but that was a challenge in itself too. I got kicked out of school. I got kicked out of college. You know what I mean? I got back in.
Yes, you did.
In the same college I got kicked out of, you know, and I graduated with high honors, but I got kicked out. Yeah. You know, I just wasn't focused because I just had all these other challenges happening outside of school.
I mean, but the way that even with that coming around, because when you spoke at your
the commencement.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was just amazing.
You talk about a full circle moment.
Seriously.
You know, because I got asked to, you know, what she's talking about, I got asked to give the keynote address at the University of Buffalo's commencement ceremony for their Alana graduation. Was it this year?
It was this year.
Yeah, May of this year. So, and that was, you talk about a full circle moment.
That was a full circle moment.
Man, because like I was that same kid that got kicked out of that same school.
Right.
I got kicked out of that same school. For them to turn around and to recognize stuff that I'm doing out here and to ask me to come back as like a distinguished alumni to give a keynote address, like that was a top 5 moment in my life. I
was about to ask you, like, what sort of lesson or what sort of takeaway did you come with that?
You gotta persevere. You know, like you just, there's no quit in me. There's, you know,
that's true.
You know,
true.
There's no quit in me whatsoever. You know, like, and when things get really, really hard, I'm just like, like, and I want to give up. I'm just like, I just can't. There's something in me. It was just like, yo, it's telling me like, yo, bro, you better not give up. And I just keep persevering, you know? So you just, you're going to have your challenges, and you're going to have those setbacks and such. But like I said in that speech, and like this quote that I live by in life, that your setbacks are just set up for comebacks. And tough times don't last, what tough people do, right? So you just got to keep persevering, you know? And I'm telling you, you do that and you keep your head on straight, and I'm telling you, you can just do anything, man, because like, look at my life now. My life is popping right now.
It's lit. It's definitely lit.
With capital L-I-T.
And the thing about Jamil too is that Jamil is a good finesser.
Oh yeah. Finesse game strong, y'all.
I mean,
that finesse game is strong.
The way Jamil finagle his way into things is amazing.
My wife calls it doing the Jamil. So there you go, doing the Jamil again,
But that is definitely a talent or a gift. I don't know what it is.
You got to know how to talk to people, man.
That's true.
You got to, and that's the thing. I don't like to be aggressive with folks, even people that I disagree with or whatever. I don't, you gotta massage it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember one time I was at college, and I'm driving through the campus. It was late at night. It was like raining really bad or whatever. And I'm speeding through the campus, and I got pulled over by a female cop at the time, university cop. And, I started talking that ish to her, man. You know what I'm saying? I hit her with the yo baby. You know what I'm saying? Yo, that yo baby worked, because she was like, just slow down.
You actually said that to her?
Absolutely. Yeah, you had to hit her with the yo baby, and it worked. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was the first time I really kind of finessed myself out of something. I was like, yo, this worked.
This worked, right?
Like, let me start talking to people. You know what I'm saying? So, and but I do things in a way though where I want to make sure that I'm not just always taking from people. And I think part of the success of my finesse is because I'm constantly giving as well.
Yeah.
Because if you constantly give, and you don't lead with your hand out asking what you can get in return, the universe always has a way of rewarding you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah. And I would say, was it last year or the year before, you actually started speaking things. You were so big and are still so big on speaking things into existence. Yeah. Why don't you talk about like how manifestation, like what that means to you, like what that does for you?
It's a real power in manifestation, because I'm a firm believer in how you think about things. There's an old saying that one of those old Greek philosophers, I think it was maybe Socrates or something like that. He said, "He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right."
Yep.
So I'm just like, you know what? Let me just start thinking about things in a way where I'm just like, I always just have, everything's just positive. I attract abundance in my life. I think it was back in 2020, was it 2020 or 2021? At the beginning of the year, the top of the year, I proclaimed that year was going to be the year of abundance for me. And that's when I kept saying it over and over and over, because I'm telling you, the more you say these things, the more you start internalizing these things. It's just, again, the universe just has a way of just like, of just like attracting all of these things to you, because like you're giving this stuff to the universe and telling it what you want. And it's just like, it's going to come to you. And it has a way of just like making sure that you get everything that you need, all of the resources you need to make these things happen. I remember putting on my whiteboard. I used to write on like my little whiteboards, my little, my goals for the year. And I think it was like December of 2019, I did it for 2020. And I look back in December of 2020, everything that was on that whiteboard, and like 90% of the stuff was accomplished on there.
Wow.
And there was a lot of stuff on there. And I'm just like, it's power in that.
Yeah.
It's real power, like writing things down. When you write it down, you make it plain. I'm telling you, like, it's like, this stuff sounds cliche, but it's so real.
Yeah.
It's really real, so, so I'm a big believer in that. I'm a big believer in manifestation, because like, if you say you want something, just speak it.
Yeah.
Just speak it.
Well, let's talk about the things that you are manifesting around here.
Okay.
So we got change makers, 30 under 30.
Yeah,
Talk a little bit about that. Where did that inspiration come from, and what it is, so the audience knows?
It's Changemakers is the largest award show in this region that recognizes professionals under the age of 30. We started it back in 2011, and at the time I was being invited to a lot of different events, fundraisers, political fundraisers, galas and all that type of stuff. And I saw all these people being honored for stuff, and I'm just like, that's cool. But there's people that look like me who was doing amazing things out here. Mm-hmm. Like, can we have something for them, to be honored as well? And nothing at the time that I knew existed, So I went to a couple folks. They tried to little bro me, like, oh yeah, kind of like wait your turn type thing, And anybody knows me knows I don't like to take no for an answer.
Yes.
So I'm like, you know what? Nobody's going to help me. I'm going to do this thing myself. I had no idea how I was going to do it or anything. And we started in about a room that's about the size of this room right here.
I remember. Yep.
You know what I mean? It was about 70 people, and it was probably a little bigger than this room, but but it wasn't a lot of people there. And we grew it from that to now the largest event in this region. And I love it because it's like, we are able to give people a platform to be recognized for not only the work that they have done or are doing, but the potential of the work that they're going to do as well. Because again, that's about vision, what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes we see things in other people that they don't necessarily see themselves.
Very true. Very true.
And one of the biggest compliments that I always receive is that, because of this event, I launched my now 6-figure career, or I met my now business partner, or you know what I'm saying? Like that's the fuel that keeps me going with this thing.
Yeah. And then we have Cruise Control Media.
Yeah.
I mean,
we rocking and rolling right now. That machine
right there.
We rocking and rolling right now, and we're not, honestly, I don't even feel like that we really even scratched the surface.
I don't think so either.
We started back in 2017, went through a whole bunch of different iterations, and we kind of really finally landed on like this media production and marketing stuff, and we've been hitting the ground running, especially since 2020. That's when things really started to take off for us. And you would think, we were in the midst of a pandemic at the time.
Right.
Everybody were like trying to hold on to their dollars, but they was giving it to us, because this is the thing. There was a lot of people at that time who, we had to transition to this virtual space. Mm-hmm. A lot of people didn't know what to do. So I'm like, I'm your solution.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And from that, things just started to snowball, and, and here we are now.
What a big snowball it is becoming.
Yeah. I mean, I know people can't see it, but like we are in this amazing studio right now. We got about 5 cameras up in here.
And this is only one studio.
Yeah, this is only the first one. Listen, man, this is the second studio.
This is the second studio.
This is the second studio.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're growing. We're growing, and I got folks like my guy Charles and
Boss.
Chuck, and we call him Boss Man.
That's Boss Man right there.
That's big Boss Man over here. You know what I'm saying? So he's the general manager for our podcast studio called the Pod Hub. Avi's on the team.
Yes.
We got Trish. We got Chuck. And we're growing.
Yeah,
we're growing. So I went from a one-man band to like now I have an opportunity to employ other people.
Right.
And which is something I've always wanted to do.
I know.
I've always wanted to do that. I've made a promise to myself that I was going to take y'all out y'all jobs. I haven't done it yet.
Trust me. I remember that. It's in my phone. Dated.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like I made a promise that, to my friends that I was going to take them out of their jobs. And that's my goal, so all that I'm doing is not for me.
Of course.
It's not for me. It's to provide access and opportunities to other people.
So Jamil, you are married. You had your first child this year.
Yeah.
What are some of your desires, aspirations from here on out for your family and for yourself?
For my family, particularly for my son, I want to make sure that he has a much better life than I could have ever wildly imagined. I told you some of the challenges that I've had growing up, and I don't want him to remotely have to think about that type of lifestyle at all. So we're trying to do everything that we can. And I want to make sure that both of us are around for him. Both of his parents are around for him. When I say both of us around, I mean together and around, you know, not like doing this thing separately, you know, shout out to all of the people that's out here, you know, holding it down as single parents and such. But, you know, I'm trying to make sure that my boy sees like what a healthy Black marriage and family looks like.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because I didn't have the fortunes of seeing that growing up. You know what I mean? So, but it's Sire's world, man. Like it has it in his nursery on his wall. Like it's Sire's world, man.
It's Sire's world.
And, you know, I want him, like the world is his playground. You know, I don't want him to be limited to, you know, to just what his immediate, you know, surroundings and such. Yeah. You know, I want him to be able to see the world. And like, that's why like we have this map on the wall in his room. And it has every country in there, you know, with the exception of like Russia and North Korea, but, you know, but, you know, that's another story for another day. But yeah, I want him to be able to point to any country on him, like, yo, I want to go there. Yeah. And just be able to go. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what I want for my boy, man. I want him to be able to just see a world that, you know, I could have never imagined coming up, you know. And again, even for his mother, my wife, man, like she's such an amazing person. Shout out to Sally Cruz. She is she's an amazing mother. She is. Oh my goodness. Like, it's like girl, when you see it, like, you know, she's knocking it out the park. Sally was a type when she was, you know, going through her entrepreneur phase and such. Well, she's still a full-time entrepreneur. Yeah. But Sally was a beast when it came to that stuff. Yes, she was. And it was all about the business. Gazelle focused. Yeah, it was all. So I was a bit nervous. Nervous, right? Like, I don't know. Like, are you still going to be all about the business the way you are, the way you have been? Yeah. You know, and like she's still shift. About the business, but she absolutely made the shift, and she is like, man, you talk about mom of the year, man. Like, she's amazing. She is, man. Like, she's holding it down, man. She really is. So the fact that we get to do this thing together as a unit is, I couldn't ask for anything better. Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. So we have 12 minutes left. So I'm gonna have Jamil ask me anything in the last 12 minutes. And this is why I didn't want to. I know I can talk. Yeah, I can talk. What do you mean? No, you was answering my question. I understand that, but why we only have 12 minutes left? That's okay. Yeah, so, like you said, ambiance. You like to dig deep, right? You like to go back. So, because there's so much that I still would love to learn about you. You know, we've been knowing each other for a long time now, and you know, and I think I know you. We've spent some time, you know, getting to know each other, but it's still some things that, you know, about your past, your upbringing that I just don't know, you know. So, so tell this, you know, go back a little bit. I know we only got a few minutes, but like, go back, you know, like how did you become all of this chocolate beauty that we know today, you know? So. Well, I came out chocolate, so I stayed chocolate. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. That's how that started. But growing up, I had a pretty good childhood, honestly. My mom and dad was together, and then they split up when I was around 7. Crazy thing is, I actually prayed for them to be divorced, though. Wow, why? As a child, because back then I was such a mommy's girl that I wanted my mother to myself, and. Also because... What? Wait. What? I did. I wanted my mom to myself. You wanted your mommy's... So I was thinking you was about to say something like, oh, it was some challenge, like, you know... Well, so I just wanted... Right. Well, that was number 1. Okay. I wanted my mom to myself. And then number 2, so my dad, with me being a military brat, when my dad came home, he treated me like a son. And see, that's why you a thug. That's why you got them hands like that. See, you learn something new every day. Really, Jamil? Yeah. You got I saw the way you moved them hands, and I'm just like, okay, but go ahead, finish though. Yeah, so
he treated me like a son, and I didn't like that. So between me wanting my mom, and then between my dad treating me like a boy, I'm like,
what would he do? Like, what were some of the things he would do?
So some of the things he would do is when I was little, my dad would literally roll me into a ball, like literally have my feet connect with my head, like roll me into a ball. It's okay, boss. I'm fine. Yeah. I'm fine now. I went through therapy. I'm fine. I'm cool. I paid for it. It's okay. Yeah. So
like those little potato bugs. Like
yes, he used to roll because coming from a military background, he was just so rough, and he wanted to play with me in a rough way. And I'm like, no, I don't want to play like that. I don't want to play like that. So I used to always love when my mother would come home and be like, Jeff, stop doing her like that. Stop. Because if my mother wasn't around, boy, it was.
Oh man.
It was rough.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So growing up.
What was you doing, bro? Like,
but it's okay. I was happy a little bit when my brother came around, a little bit. But yeah. So growing up, I prayed for that, and when they actually got that divorce, the thing that I didn't know is that my mother was now a single parent. And that meant that she had to work more. So that meant that, as a child, seeing your mom work the way that she did, and we actually had a conversation about this after the last episode with Kelly, my mother called me. And we had to talk about it. And the thing is that as a child, you only feel what you see. And seeing my mother gone and then seeing her come back home and just making sure like our chores were done and like very militant, I would say. Then I was like, okay, I don't really like this either. But it spiraled me into depression, and then I became suicidal and all of that things going through high school. So,
Yeah, see, and these are things that, again, I've been knowing Avi for all of this time, and I've never knew this stuff.
Well, but the thing that y'all have to know about me, though, is that I'm a person who loves to listen to people. Yeah. So if people don't ask me questions, I'm not talking. Like, wow. and I'm not volunteering information.
So how did you, at what point did you make the transition to come out of that shell, or out of that funk from being, like you said, suicidal and things like that? So at what point did that transition happen?
Actually, it happened when we went to a therapist. And
how old were you?
I was maybe like 14, 15. Okay. We had went, and the therapist started with my mother. He was like, so you tell me in your own words why you think we're here for your daughter. And while she was explaining it, she started crying. And I was so elated. I was so happy to see my mother cry.
You had never seen her cry before?
No, it was because during that time, she was just so militant with us. Now being a single parent, like I said, growing up, you only feel what you see. You don't really understand.
Was she a cop at the time?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So to me, I felt like mom don't care about me. She just wanted to make sure that the house is good. Yeah. As long as the house is good, it's good. So to sit there and see my mother actually shed tears, that's all I needed, was to feel that you do still love me. And after I saw that, therapy was done. We only needed that one session. That's all I needed, was to just see that. And then I was good. So,
wow, that's amazing. So you went through this therapy session, and so what were conversations like after that? Like with your mom, like, did you tell her just like, this is all I ever needed from you? Like, and what was her response from that?
The interesting thing is that I think it did a good and a bad thing, because the good thing was that my mom finally understood that I understand that you're trying to provide for me, but I'm not feeling like you love me. So that shifted the way that she was mothering at that time. Okay. But the bad thing that happened is that she was overly concerned for my well-being, Hinston. So whenever, in life, you'll be sad. But whenever I'm sad, my mother is thoroughly concerned. Like, are you thinking about doing anything bad to yourself? Because of the fact that I was suicidal. And even to this day, if I cry, if I'm sad, my mother is overly concerned that I'm going to slip back into that depression and thinking about killing myself. So good and bad came out of it, but it is what it is.
But yeah, you never had those type of feelings after that?
Towards my mother?
No, I'm just like those suicidal.
Oh, yeah.
From what?
Going through my divorce.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I wanted to be out of here. Yeah.
Talk about that for a little bit.
Because so growing,
because you were let's kind of give some backstory. You were married, for
a couple of years,
right? Y'all had some challenges and such, and ended up going through the divorce, and and you obviously y'all are. Y'all have a good relationship now, but it wasn't always like that. So talk about that transition.
The thing that I noticed in marriage is that, in my previous marriage, is that we were not friends before we became husband and wife, and now I completely understand the importance it is of being friends because
foundation.
Oh my goodness, it is because. In our marriage, it was like, if I don't like you right now, I just don't like you. But if you're a friend, you're like, I don't like you right now, but I so want you around. Like, I still want you around. It wasn't that. It was, get out of here. I don't want to be around you at all. So I would say for me, going through the divorce is really what made me who I am right now because, oh my goodness, when I was crying out to God and when I was saying like, get him. He's the problem. Get him. And when God said, why don't we look at you first? And I'm like, for what? I didn't do nothing. I didn't do anything. But I think it's so beautiful how God dealt with me. Because at the end of the day, I was so mad at God, but yet I knew he was the only one that could fix me. He was the only one that could fix me. So I had to go through some very hard questions, very hard realizations about me. And honestly, what that came to is that even though I felt so betrayed in my marriage, I ended up going to him and apologizing for a lot.
To your ex-husband?
Yeah, like apologizing for a lot because at the end of the day, it takes two to have a marriage. And you only know what you know at that time. And I ended up apologizing for a lot. And I just think going through my divorce was a very humbling thing. It was a very humbling thing because growing up, I just thought like, anyone who snagged me, you know what I'm saying, John? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm out here though. You know what I'm saying, boss man? So I think going through that divorce really humbled me. Like, okay, Ivans, that's good that you think that way about yourself, but let's be real about the things that you can continuously work on and the things that you have to compromise and what marriage truly is. So yeah, at the end of the day, I came out a better woman.
We don't have to, go too deep into, like a lot of the details of like the divorce and things like that and what happened, but whatever you're comfortable with sharing, like, I'm just really interested and curious about what are those things that you felt like that you had to apologize for?
Because the one thing that I know is that a woman is she is a multiplier. When a man gives us a seed, we multiply it and we turn that into a child. So with the love that my husband was giving me, I didn't multiply that and make it a home. I didn't.
Okay.
And on top of that, because my mom and my dad was divorced, I got a lot of my how to do marriage from TV. And because of that, my idea was happy wife, happy life. That is not the way it goes at all. It's not.
I'm telling y'all, man. That's not it. That's not it.
Not at all. So
husband ain't happy. I'm telling you, it's going to be a bad day.
I'm telling you, it really is. And so I think so I had to apologize about that, like the way that I didn't create a home for him. And on top of that, I wasn't a safe place for him either. I know that a lot of men, have that little boy inside and they need to make sure that they feel safe with that little boy with you. I didn't make him feel safe with me. So I didn't create a good home for him. I didn't create a safe place for him. And then on top of that, whenever we would have... Really? And then on top of that, whenever he would come to me and want to discuss a hard topic, I didn't want to discuss that because I didn't know how to respond. I didn't know how to respond. So It was, so God showed me myself when I thought it was going to be all about like fixing him. God was like, no, we need to fix you. Mm-hmm. You know, so.
Yeah, and that, you know, you going back to that whole foundational piece too about being friends. That is so vitally important, man, because, you know, it's just funny because just this morning, my wife and I were having a conversation about marriage, and, you know, we've had our challenges, you know, gone through some things and considered divorce. I mean, we've been together almost 15 years, you know, so of course we, you know, it's going, you know, you know, you're going to go through some stuff, you know what I mean? So, but it was, you know, it was a point in our marriage where, you know, divorce was, it was a thing. It was
on the table, right?
It was a thing, you know what I mean? And I remember telling my wife, and, you know, and I'll share this with y'all, and I talked to her about this. We actually just talked about it this morning, actually. I remember telling her that if we were to get divorced, I can't be friends with you. I was like, I just can't. You know what I mean? Like, I love you too much right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, we do have that foundational piece there with the friendship, but it was just, you know, considering all the things that we were going through at the time, I was like, I don't know if I can be friends, right? Yeah. And she said that was the thing for her, you know, that was like, you know what, like, I cannot see my life. She didn't want to lose me as a friend. Yeah. You know what I mean? She was like, I cannot imagine, like, whenever, like, I got something, this is her talking, whenever I got something or I have something going on, and Jamil is the first person I want to share it with. And imagine if he's not there for me to be able to do that, you know? So, and that just like, for her, that just wasn't, you know, she just couldn't see herself being in that space. Yeah. You know? And I appreciated that, you know what I mean? Because it's just like, you know, it told me that the foundation was there. The foundation was set. Absolutely. Because honestly, if that foundation wasn't there,
it would have been a wrap. I know.
It would have been a hard wrap. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but, you know, we made it work.
But right? both of y'all say that all the time. Yeah. Both, and I love it because even if you guys are not in the same room, y'all say the exact same thing. Like, I ain't be with nobody else, but you know, like y'all choose each other every single day.
Yeah, and listen, y'all, marriage is tough. Let me look at this camera and tell y'all, man, marriage is tough. It is tough, but honestly, I can't see myself doing this with anybody else. Absolutely, I really can't. You know, you know, we have our challenges. We still have challenges, but you know, we in a really, really good space right now too. You know, so and I wouldn't want to do this with anybody else. You know what I mean? So
I wouldn't want y'all to do it with nobody.
Yeah, especially now that we got Lil Man in the picture.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because like, he's just so dope. I'm gonna bring him on the podcast one time.
I was just thinking that you should bring him up.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring him on the podcast one time. You should. We're gonna sit here and interview him. He ain't gonna say nothing, but but we're gonna do that. But I know we're coming close to time, but I mean it's still. We might have to do a part 2 for this or something because it's so much that I want to learn about you, Aviance. I'll tell you, you know, I didn't meet Aviance under the best of circumstances. You know what I mean? Because she kind of pissed me off when I first met her.
Are we wrapping up, boss? Are we wrapping up?
No, we ain't wrapping. I'm about to tell this damn story. I'm about to tell the story. It wasn't even that crazy. It wasn't even that crazy, but it was crazy to me at the time. Like I met my wife. Her and Aviance were they went to college together. And, you know, this was after they graduated from college. Was it after? No. Y'all was still in college?
Still in college, yeah. Because we was in the main cafeteria room.
Wait, what year did y'all graduate from college?
2007.
No, it was after y'all graduated then.
I didn't meet
I met her in 2008.
Jamil, you did not.
I did.
Jamil.
Listen.
Now we got to bring Sally on here.
Why you trying to tell me when I met my wife?
Because we were in the main cafeteria.
We were in the cafeteria, but she went back for a poetry event. That's what she was back there for. I forget the name of that organization over at y'all school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was that little poetry organization. It was like the Black organization or something like whatever it was called. But it was 2008. You know what I'm saying? Because I met her in February 2008. Okay. You know what I mean? So I got the receipts. You know what I'm saying? I know when I met my wife.
Have your receipts, Jamil.
I knew her before that, but we officially had our first conversation in 2008. 2008. Okay. Yeah. So, but we was there at this event. I don't know who this girl is. I don't know her from Adam. You know what I mean? So, And, you know, we was, you know, I'm getting some food. Like they have this little event going on, a little poetry event. So I'm up here getting food or whatever. It's fried chicken. And she came over and I don't even remember all of the details. I just remember her just being ignorant. She was so ignorant. And because she didn't want this food that was on her plate, she took off of her plate and threw it on my plate. I'm like, whose child is this?
Listen,
who raised you?
I don't keep food on my plate, Charles.
I don't even know her though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know you.
You were sitting next to me, so you get the food. I need to clear my plate to get more food.
I was ready to duff her ass. You know what I'm saying? And I don't even hit women. I don't even raise my voice at women. You know what I'm saying? But Jesus Christ, I'm like, yo, whose child is this? You know, but ever since then, you know, we've been cool and like we hung out a little. It wasn't really until like I want to say 2017, 2018 is like when we really started getting really close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because honestly, I think I had told you this before. I don't remember even taking a picture with you prior to 2018. Which is crazy. You know what I'm saying? You my wife's best friend. I never took a picture with you, but you know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. But I think we were at some event that I was getting an award at. I can't remember which one it was. You know, got so many awards, you know. I'm joking. I kid. But yeah, we took a picture for the first time, and then we've been thick as thieves ever since. And
absolutely.
You know, I'm considered like the best friend-in-law.
Best friend-in-law.
Yeah. They got the besties. You know, yes. It's Avi, Sally, Joanna, and Erica, and so that's the best friendship. And I'm the best friend-in-law.
Yes.
You know, so. But it's crazy how over the past couple of years, I done kind of stole Aviance away from my wife as, you know, and she's become like one of my closest friends. Right. You know what I mean? So, so much so that we're here today doing this podcast together.
We are the ones.
We are the ones. Yeah.
Yes.
We definitely got to do a part 2 because it's so much. I know we got to wrap, but it's so much that I want to like just sit and talk to you about. I want to dig deep into like your story.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I want to dig real deep, you know? But this was a really good conversation.
It was.
Yeah, it's a really good conversation.
Did you enjoy it, boss?
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was great, man. So shout out to Charles, man. He's our guy behind the scenes, is running everything. Big boss man over here.
Absolutely.
And our entire team, Chuck, everybody, man. Yeah, I mean, we just we love just being able to bring this content, you know, to y'all, and I'm looking forward to bringing more. You know, and we got some really amazing interviews lined up. You know,
Still got them lined up.
But we thought it would be important for y'all to get to know who we are.
Right. For us to just stop and pause for a minute.
Right. Yeah. So, but no, I love this conversation. I'm looking forward to the next one, you know. So, but before we wrap, make sure y'all follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are all over the streaming world, you know. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart. We on Audible, y'all. Yo, so if you like listening to audiobooks, just search We Are the Ones podcast with Avi and Jamil, and we are there.
You know what? And that's the thing too, because somebody couldn't find us. Just please make sure you do put Avi and Jamil, because sometimes it pops up that way too. Yeah. So make sure that y'all follow us. And please, on the YouTube channel, like, comment, subscribe. You know, that helps the algorithm, help us continue to get our message out to the people. But I'm looking forward to, again, just more dope conversations and just doing this with you, Avi. Absolutely. Until next time, keep winning on purpose. We'll see you later. Thanks for checking out another episode of We Are the Ones podcast.
Make sure you subscribe and listen to our podcast on any of your favorite streaming platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and even on Audible.
And then make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram at We Are the Ones podcast. And make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share. Because remember, you are not just the one. We are the ones.